pants off, bro! I have the high ground!
39 days, 20 people, 1 survive. On the Tribe of Nerds.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Tribe of Nerds. We had to put the OGs back together. Will, JJ, and I are here to talk about not only the heroes versus villains mini that happened this past week for Survivor, but also we're gonna do an MCU recast in the second half that Will's gonna take charge on. But so we're gonna start with the heroes versus villains mini and talk about what they thought of their experience, however brief it may have been. So let's get into that. So you guys were obviously new, like you played in some of my games before, but like you were new to this whole like Vanquish experience. And like when we did stuff back in the day, I had no idea like things that Vanquish did that like worked. And so like then when I was able to like get a team together to help me and like go off my experience playing, like it was really cool to bring that to the table. But what did you guys think? I guess just like going in, like what did you expect, and like just what ended up happening for you guys when you first set foot in the game?
Well, to start off, I didn't last as long as I wanted to, being the first one eliminated. You hate to see it, but you know, it is what it is. It was like I kind of expected. So like the big thing that was surprising was like how much like everybody wanted to talk leading up to it, which was awesome. Like I enjoyed it, but I just felt bad because like I was busy with work leading up to it. And like I just got back from traveling with work and some of my deployments. So like I just was like so like mentally exhausted. Like I was trying to partake in some of the conversation or chatter in the group. But it's like it was I didn't know the group very well, and like it's like I'm like, all right, I don't know exactly how to break the ice, but they were chattering, and you know I was trying to be there. I took part in a couple tribe calls that happened beforehand. You know, I showed up late to one because I just got off work. But like, you know, getting knocked out first, I kind of saw it coming because I was like, I'm the outsider of everybody. Everybody knows each other so much better. I'm like the easiest like first person gone vote, to where you could just vote them off and not feel really guilty about betraying someone or doing all that stuff. I was like the easiest one to vote off. I mean, it sucked. I wanted to keep playing, especially since the first few challenges were just like, I was like, man, this is the roughest first challenge I could have gotten to have. But it is what it is. It was still fun, and it just made me more excited though, because I kept watching it on the YouTube live. And like just the challenges that were going, I was like, I just sat there, and I didn't have a right to have an ego, but I was just sitting there. I was like, I could have done that. Oh, I could have balanced the ping pong ball between the pencil. I could have sat there on a plank all the do-la day. I could have done that. But it was cool. The people were great, honestly, and just it was funny seeing the interactions of just how right off the get-go I picked up right away, because it was not hidden, was Pirate Sarah, Kevin, for some reason, were the two biggest like enemies for everybody. Even when you were on the same team, everybody's like, we got to get rid of Kevin. But then me, I was just like, well, now I just want to be friends with these people. I don't know why. Like everyone's like, we got to vote Kevin off, and I'm like, nah, Kevin cool. And then they're like, we got to get rid of Pirate Sarah. I'm like, nah, she cool, even though she's on the other tribe. I don't know. It is what it is. It made me want to be like friends with them even more, but it was cool. I hope I get to do it again, and hopefully next time, at least next time, I will try to be more communicative with the group. It was just some rough timing, but I didn't want to back out because, you know, I told you I would do it. I still wanted to do it. I just was caught up with work, and it was just rough for me. I tried. I just sat there, and even when I got eliminated, I just sat there for a moment. I'm like, yeah, I would have voted for me too, probably.
I mean, honestly, yeah. I mean, it sucked. And like everybody, and like even podcasting with Kevin, Sarah, and Michael, like Kevin and Michael were just saying like they loved talking with you, and like the Zoom started and everything. It literally like So like, yeah, if you had been able to talk, you probably would have made it through that first vote. I honestly think so.
If was a fifth, I'd be drunk on the floor, but it's all good.
Oh yeah. Well, JJ, what was your experience like? Because yours, you at least got to play a little longer, and I know you went through a lot more stress in the game because of it. So
Okay, so the pre-gaming was ridiculous. Let's start off with the fact that there was a reason that we were gunning for Pirate Sarah. She had started messaging me at the end of February,
yep.
like way before the game had even started. And yeah, so that was a lot. But I had canceled almost everything for my weekend, at least all the things that I could. But even that wasn't enough because the amount of chat that happened between nights 1 and 2 was insane.
Yes, it was.
But backing up a little bit, getting into it, I had an idea that I could very well have been an early target for the same reason that Will was thinking. You know, I'm an outsider. I don't know these people. They seem to know each other. But it really kind of fell into lines on our tribe of the people who were chatting a lot beforehand. We formed our own alliance. I'm sure you've seen the pictures of Chattergate circling out there. But we were the original chatterboxes.
Yep.
And that was great because we had the numbers. We had 5 out of 9 on a tribe. And it was a really solid position to be in. Then night 1, villains just dominated the challenge. And it was an excellent position for us. Everything was going according to plan. The first person we voted off was the person we had all agreed to vote off prior to the beginning of the challenges. Like, this was what we talked about before the night had even started. And so it seemed like everything was going to be fine. After those challenges, Ryan decided he wanted to play so fucking hard and started trying to run the entire game. He made alliances between the remaining heroes. He was on a separate alliance with Pirate Sarah and some of them. He was not actually in a final 2 with me. He was still part of the chatterboxes, whatever. This was before Chattergate even happened. And we had one idea, which was to split the vote. Oh no, after Chattergate happened, we had an idea that was to split the vote between Pirate Sarah and Corey. And then I decided, okay, now's my time. I better make a move. And I don't know if I ever actually had the numbers. I probably didn't. That's fine. Neo winning immunity in the first challenge was a death knell to me because, like, any kind of plan that I thought I had between that and you pulling the twist of a double elimination for the first challenge just completely screwed over any semblance of a plan I had. I had no chance. I'm proud of the way I played, though. I mean, I attempted to pull some strings. You know, I played the game like the game that it's meant to be. And I feel like I did all right.
I agree with that. I mean, hey, like, you weren't the first boot this time, JJ. So
what is with the strays, Jake? We get it, okay? He went.
Well,
JJ
got first boot the second time he played. So
fair.
Like, he knows what you feel like as well. Like, but I will say, JJ, from what Sarah and Kevin told me, even with the split tribal, if Ryan had not won that immunity, Ryan would have gone and not you. So
dang. Well, and it was a planking challenge too. And I knew, like, I had put in my confessional, I knew that the most important thing for me right now was to win challenges. But I felt secure enough in the idea that I was gonna be okay that I decided I actually threw the challenge. I could have gone longer. I wouldn't have won that challenge. Let's be
Yeah.
clear. I don't have any ideas that I would have won. But I stopped before I needed to because one, I didn't think I was going to win, but two, I felt like I was safe enough to do that. I didn't feel that I needed to win. Clearly, I was wrong.
Mhm.
But back on the topic of Will, man, you getting voted out sucked so much. Not only because like I know how that feels and how awful that is, but also I was planning from the very beginning, post merge, you and Kevin were going to be the two people that I reached out to.
Mhm.
I was so excited to play with you again.
Dude, as much as like you and I will shoot the shit, especially like because like even early on, like I was shit talking you because just what I do. Like the main thing I kept thinking of was I'm like, man, it did suck that me and JJ happened to be on different tribes to start off with. Because I feel like if you and I were on the same tribe, at least then it would have been we would at least had our own close connection. Because
Mhm.
everybody else had their like deep ties with people. And to each their own, you know. And like I'm not saying that's the reason why I lost. Like I'm not complaining about that. But JJ was on the same tribe as me, or if I was with JJ, I feel like that would at least given both him and I at least a little bit more stability and more comfort in the sense of okay, this is how the atmosphere of the game is going. Okay, because I can adjust to it. Because
Right.
I felt like I was adjusting and like you see me in the day one with talking to people. I had no problem chatting with people. Like
Right.
I'll crack jokes all the do all day.
Yeah.
I just needed to get into that mental atmosphere of okay, this is what the group is like. Bet I can make do of this. But like I don't know, like Jay just said, I wanted to go again. I think I would have really sucked at the guess who though challenge because
Well, yeah.
I'm gonna be honest with you. Like when it started going there, I was just like, and I heard that challenge, I'm like, damn, I would have sucked at this one. I don't know anybody.
Yeah.
Because I'm not gonna lie, I don't like watch Survivor,
Right.
not nearly as hard as you guys do, or like really often at all.
Mhm.
I enjoy what the challenges are because I think I'm a competitive person. I just enjoy doing that stuff. Like you hit me up, you're like, you want to do this? I'm like, bet goofy random challenge. Okay, let me get some bragging rights on something. Didn't end up working out, but it is what it is. But oh man, if me and JJ were on the same tribe to start, I feel like it could have been a little bit better
Mhm.
because then even then one way or another, him and I could at least then stick up for each other in that sense.
Yeah.
Like if they were to start talking about like the scapegoat vote kind of deal of, oh, we got to vote somebody off. We at least then could have backed each other up and been like, oh, no, JJ's cool, you know? Yeah, he's a little odd, but he's smart. It's going to pay off a little bit in the end. We need him.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and the funny thing is, so before night one, like the challenges started, JJ made a final two with Rachel, and then in his confessional, JJ, you were like, I'll throw Rachel under the bus just so I can play with Will. So it's like,
JJ, I love you.
Dude, I was so ready to backstab anyone. Let's be real.
Dude, the whole time, like my thought process going into this game was like when it came to the first night, I literally was just like, I'm like, this is gonna backfire because I threw Susan's name up
yeah,
right off
Mhm.
because like me, I didn't know like what the stipulations were for what she went to, and like she came back and she was like, oh, we either could give somebody immunity or put a disadvantage on somebody.
right.
And they were like, "Oh, we just put a disadvantage." And me being maybe the overthinker that I am, I was like, "There's always a catch. What's the catch on this? Like, you don't just put a disadvantage on the villains team because I'm just trying to tell Kevin, like we were in our chat, and I was telling Kevin, I was like, it just doesn't seem right. I know they're villains, but I'm like, they won. What do they have to lose? Why are they like putting disadvantages on their own guys? Like, why would you cause trouble in your own tribe, like right off rip when you're in the position of power? You can hold off on that. And like, so I threw Susan's name on the bus in a way. I was like, yo, guys, Susan, I think is the one we probably should just vote off. And it wasn't personal. I was just like, hey,
Right.
I can't say my name. I'm gonna throw up Susan. One other person, don't know who it was. They believe me because I remember that
Cameron,
vote.
Cameron voted for Susan.
Yeah, there was two against Susan. One was mine, so somebody else believed me too, or something, or at least they
Yeah.
thought the same thing. So
After that, too, Will, it seemed like people were all over Susan for a while because the next couple summits were related to Susan.
Right.
They
And then
really
I
were.
was watching and I was like, where was that energy? Like the tribe vote beforehand. Like, hello, people, come on.
Right. So after you went, because then Cameron voted with you, Cameron got voted out second. So he got voted out right after you. And he tried to go for Susan as well again.
I know. I saw Cameron go. I was like, dude, been there, Cameron. Fought that battle. Maybe
Well,
it's just the way
actually,
it goes.
technically, he threw his vote on a Greg, which caused him to get voted out. But Susan's
yeah.
name, it was like a tie between Susan and Cameron. And Cameron did not expect that Kevin was going to betray him because Kevin and Cam are close. Like we have our own friend group, Cam, Kevin, Sarah, and I, and like so we were shocked. Like the mods, and we were all shocked when Kevin took Cameron out.
I was gonna tell you because like with the way the challenge goes, I'm like, Baruki, you need to get me to throw up some ideas because it's like I'm cool. Listen, it's your game. You want to put some Survivor trivia in there? Fine, I don't give a shit. But let's get something where me and JJ are really strong at too. Let's take them into our world.
Right. Well, I knew that one was going to be not great for you guys. So I'm like, well, you guys are going to suck, but it's.
I laughed so hard though when there was the scavenger hunt and the first item was fucking rice. I was like, I ain't got no rice. I just got back home not that long ago. I was like, I ain't got no rice.
Yeah, I knew that.
I literally left camera just to make it look like it's like, well, I'm gonna try. Maybe I do have rice left over sometime. And then I looked over, I was like, I ain't got no damn rice. What am I looking? And I looked in, somebody had like a tiny rice bar, and I might be me. I always think it was I'm like, nah, that don't count. I hear rice. I'm thinking like a big bag. Like whoever it was, like showed like a bar. It looked like a candy bar that was just rice, and I was like, okay, I guess a rice bar counts.
Brandon had a bag of rice ready. Like you called that?
Yeah, did you like send the list out
preemptively? No.
I never get that message.
These people literally play these online games a lot, and a lot of orgs do like the same thing of like the scavenger hunt, and it's just like random items. Like nobody sends the list out for this scavenger hunt.
Well, as a brother, future notice, as fellow ATO brothers, maybe next time us newbies, you could have been like a little heads up of like, hey, by the way, I'm not telling you what's on the list, but these are some examples of what could be on the list. You might want to have these in your home.
That was one area that I definitely felt disadvantaged compared to the other players, is that it felt like they knew the challenges before they even happened. Like they talked about Survivor knowledge was going to be something. Trivia or prior to the challenges, it was said multiple times that the scavenger hunt was going to happen, and someone said that it was probably going to be a bag of rice. So definitely people knew that inside and out.
Yeah. I just thought it was a real skill issue on me. I mean, it probably is, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't just get who just has what.
These people play this so often, like these types of games, that it's just like you guys would be amazed by how many different.
Hey,
like,
mad props to their dedication. It's their world. Like I ain't hating. I'm just shocked.
Yeah,
but yeah, like you were saying, Will, about the Survivor Guess Who, like we had just been having a conversation about strengths and weaknesses, and it was very clear. I was like, I'm going to do terrible in any kind of Survivor trivia. And then that came up, and in the chat, I'm just like, nope, I'm out. Sit me out.
Oh, I was impressed when you were talking with somebody as well, and you started talking about the current season, like you'd actually watched a little bit of one episode. I'm like, well, JJ actually watched a little bit.
I think I only know one name from Survivor, and I don't even think it's the correct way to pronounce it. The only reason why this name or this bad pronunciation of their name is because my parents used to watch Survivor. And I remember walking in one time, and it's from like, I think the very first season, because this is how long ago it was. Dude had a massive beard. Started with an R. I think it was like Rupert or something.
Yeah, Rupert.
Like
he was one of the early seasons. Yeah.
He's the only one I would have known. So, like, if they would have asked me pick a Survivor for Guess Who to describe, I'm going to be like, this guy. Because that's the only one I would have been able to contribute to. And then I would have been like, I don't think anybody would have even. I mean, they probably would have pinned him down, especially the way that the questions were going. But, like, I was just like, boom, right there. That's my guy. I don't know anybody else. Right there.
I had watched part of an episode of Survivor because it just so happened to be on TV when I sat down on the couch. My mom will leave the TV on just a random channel while she does work and stuff. And that was what happened to be on. So I was sitting down to do something and they were doing a challenge. I know they had to throw rings up and off of a pole.
Yeah.
But no, I actually feel like I would have been decent at the Guess Who game as someone in the chat, like telling them what questions to ask, because I am really good at that sort of game where it's like, let's eliminate as many choices as we can. Bro, I tutored the SAT and ACT. This is best guess process of elimination. Let me do that. But I had already sat out. The other big that I felt disadvantaged was with idol hunting. I had no idea what to look for. And then we got to day 2 before, like way early in day 2, and everybody was talking about it. I was like, oh, I didn't even know I was supposed to be looking.
Yeah, that I could have said something about emojis to you guys, but I also didn't want to like tip my hand of like what we were doing. So it was like, so I don't know.
I figured it out really, really quickly once I started talking to Ryan about idols, because even though I hadn't put it together that was idols, the second time you sent a devil emoji, I just felt like it was super out of place and not something that you do, Jake. I was like, why do you do that?
Yeah, I know.
And so that just stuck in my brain.
JJ's like, we've all been texting Baruki for years now. This dude has never used emojis like this. Something's up.
No, for real, though, when did Jake ever use the devil emoji?
Dude,
Never.
You said that, and I know because I'm not in the chat because like I got removed, so it's like I never saw those like idol like hints and stuff like that. But you saying that, I still don't believe you that he sent emojis, because Jake doesn't send emojis.
Jake has picture proof that I sent him of the emoji chat. I took screenshots to send to him, but every time I had done it, they'd already been claimed. And
it's because Sarah and Kevin would literally do it like instantly as soon as they dropped. And then I was just like, well,
I think, like all like talking about it, like just in terms of it was definitely I think we agree, me and JJ, there's like this learning curve that him and I had, because this isn't our type of game normally.
Right.
Like this isn't what we do consistently like they do, which is what happens. It's like they're the expert matters in this field. Like mad props to them. I will not complain about it. Like I'm not salty about that. The only thing is just like I'm just experiencing like as a player, it's like what I could do better. It's like, okay, next time learn a little bit more. I probably would have asked a little bit more questions in the sense of like, all right, what's to expect of me? Now I know though, but because like I feel like where my strengths, like I didn't get a chance to really show off like where my strengths is. It probably was a little hinted, but it's like as you could tell, I have no problem talking to people. Like I will chat up people. I will try to make people laugh. You know, I can dive into a group of people and find somebody that I can at least find a bond with. And be like, all right, we buddies. And I feel like that's where my strength is in terms of just talking to people, kind of almost reading people in some sense. Because I was watching the YouTube live and I was hearing people talk and I had all my alerts going. I'm like, they're full of it. They're lying. They're going to backstab you. They just straight up told you the truth and you didn't believe them for some reason. I don't know why. It felt like at times there was Sarah and Kevin gaslighting each other, and then Sarah would gaslight herself almost in some ways. I don't know. And I'm just like, Sarah's so good at playing the game. She's playing herself. And I'm just like, skill? Great job. Jealous.
He talked about people coming to her and just telling her things. And like, oh my God, I couldn't believe a couple of the calls that I was on. And it was just like, I don't know how to lie in the face of a person who is crying in front of me right now. Like, oh,
I'll tell you what, JJ, and somebody in my job where you deal with people and they cry, I would have handled it. This is just what you do. If they would have went on a tear spree and been like emotionally, like, you know, just baggage dumping you for the game, and you know they full of it, and you know they trying to play it, you just hit them with this. Damn. That's crazy. And then you just leave it at that. And then
Bro,
their
that's a
reaction to
damn
that will
that's
tell
crazy.
you their motives.
It's amazing. Honestly, I really wanted to see you guys work together again. Just because,
Oh
like,
my God. I feel
Don't
like
worry.
that would have been a crazy. It definitely, I think it would have been interesting because if me and JJ would have had our alliance, it definitely would have been us versus almost everybody for the longest time. But knowing me and JJ, we both would be in the back of our mind being like, when's this motherfucker gonna stab me in the back? Because they would do it, we would do it for the
We
memes.
played together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we would do it for the memes though. That's the thing though.
well,
Even
Don't
in
worry,
serious
Jake. The three of us will
situations.
get into a game together, and Will and I will team up against you. You'll get to see it firsthand.
oh my God, jeez.
I've
Okay.
got a question for you, Jake.
Yeah.
So the twist of the double elimination night 2.
Mhm.
How far in advance did you know that was going to happen? Because I have 3 theories. The first is that it was just planned from the beginning. Cool, whatever. It just so happened to be the worst possible fucking thing in the world. Second is that it could have been a timing thing, which I would totally understand that because night 1 ran long. And the third was like you saw all the chaos and you over there with your little devil emojis and your Mr. Burns excellent hands are like, what's the worst possible way that I can fuck over everyone's game tonight? And you landed on that.
No, it was the timing thing. I'll be honest. Like, it was timing how we wanted it to be more efficient because night 1 ran a little long, and originally it was going to be like single elimination, like 14 rounds of single elimination. And then what ended up happening is the mods and I were talking about it, and we're like, we're gonna be around till like 1 a.m. if it's like 9 merge rounds of just one person going. So we wanted to be as efficient as we could be, so we had to throw those doubles in, and we just were able to organically like place them and just make them work. So that's honestly what happened. And like, I honestly thought, JG, that you were going to be able to make it a lot farther. Like, if you rewatch the videos, and Will knows this, I was pumping you up, like your game in the pre-merge. Like, I thought you were going to be able to make it through because of how well you were doing initially. And then just as soon as like this twist happened and Ryan won immunity, your game just exploded.
Well, everything about the twist just completely fell into the wrong places for me.
Yeah.
It was that we split up, like that in and of itself was problematic. The fact that Ryan won immunity and the fact that like who ended up on my side of things.
Yeah.
Because I had never talked to Anthony about it. So I had no rapport with him. I knew Sarah was sitting on idols, and it was kind of nice that we forced her to play one. But then, like, Kevin was always a wild card to me. But yeah, God, that sucked so much. That sucked so much.
Yeah, I was just shocked at how everything just went from you being in a good spot to just all of a sudden everything going wrong. And
nothing can go wrong. Oh no, it all went wrong.
but like, I don't know. I was just, I was really hoping for everything to just happen to where you guys could still be in the game. And it was tough also because like with the cast that we had, I mean, yeah, there were connections. There were people that played together. Like Anthony, Susan, Michael, and Amy were all from the same Vanquish season. Trying to think of obviously Kevin and Sarah, Kevin and Cameron. I mean, and Sarah and Cameron, like people all knew each other from past seasons and being around in the Vanquish community. And so like that was definitely tough to but like honestly, I think we tried to also split things up as best we could. I mean, we probably could have split the season 9 people up a little bit better because there were 3 of them on the heroes, but Michael and Anthony ended up turning on
It didn't really help us early on, I'm just saying.
Yeah, well, Michael and
We had
Anthony
to
turned on
start,
Susan, so
I'm not like actually mad about the way that it split. It just lined up really badly for me, is
Yeah.
all.
right.
I gotta ask though, because I noticed throughout the chatter, and then when I got voted off and I was watching, a lot of people were commenting. They're like, "Oh, so and so's on the villains. That no surprise. Oh, so Kevin's on the heroes. That's not right." And I was just like, "Why did you put JJ on the villains and me on the heroes? Like, are you we just admitting that I'm the good one between me and JJ, or what are we
Okay,
saying?
in terms of
What's
the
going
way we
on?"
play Survivor, yes.
Yeah. In terms of the way you both play, I think Will, you're a lot more of a hero and JJ's a lot more of a villain. Like I think how you guys played your first time definitely was clear about that.
Yeah,
I
no,
think that
that's
that
fair.
time kind of reflected it for me too, because I had talked to Ryan about being final two, and at that point, I didn't really have a reason to suspect that he wasn't going to go to final two with me, and I was just sitting there orchestrating a blindside against him.
Yeah.
I think the biggest awakening, like that I knew, like this was like gonna be like some crazy shit, was when we all were getting on the call before it all started, and we're all just like chatting with each other. And Ryan gets on. I see him in this Matrix themed outfit and all that. I'm like, okay. And then Sarah gets on, and she's got the whole pirate thing going, and it just made me think. I'm like, should I have had a theme? I just had the Bigfoot shirt on, and I had the gallon of chocolate milk, but I'm like, I need a persona now. Maybe I need one because I felt left out. I was like, nah, I can't let these people outshine me. Who is this? What is this? I'm jealous. I love the Matrix thing going that Ryan had. The pirate thing was just on point. Honestly, I was just like, chef's kiss, love it.
Yeah.
And then apparently Kevin's shtick was just being Kevin because everybody was
And
making
tiny
fun of
hands.
Kevin. Yeah, well, that wasn't even talking about that. The moment Kevin got on, everyone was like, "Hey, Kevin, fuck you, Kevin." I was like, all
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
cool. And I was like, I see. So Kevin, he's the enemy, but he's my teammate. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, and like Kevin and Sarah's like frenemy, I mean, goes back to the second time where they both played together in Vanquish Second Chances. And then from there, like doing the podcasts and stuff, then they just kept arguing with each other, and it was just their thing. And so then when I made the trailers that I had to have them arguing back and forth, and somehow that we ended up with them as the final two is just insane.
I was banking the moment I saw those interactions, like the gossip person in me and like just the fanfics and all that. I'm like, enemies to lovers. I see it. They're gonna be the power alliance when the thing merges.
Yeah.
I can see it. But then it kept going. I'm like,
100%.
no, their egos would never allow it.
Yeah.
Will, who would you have voted for if you were on that final jury?
Oh, to win it?
Yeah.
Yeah, between Kevin and Sarah.
Oh my God. I think the way it was all going and everything, I think I would have given it to Sarah
Mhm.
just for the mere fact of just how efficient she was throughout the game.
Yeah.
And I respect that. Plus, part of, me being extra as hell. I love a good theme. Can't ignore the pirate thing. But
Yeah.
not Kevin. I'll tell you what, where Kevin would have like almost made the case for me was just how resilient he was throughout that whole game in terms of like that dude got through votes after votes because everybody after every damn vote, all that was said was you got to get Kevin out.
Right.
But they kept saying that, but they never got Kevin out.
Yeah.
So like you gotta respect just the ability to play people, stay in the game like that, even like when you have like the target is clearly on you. And Sarah had a target on her back too. But like they both like they play so similar, it's like frightening. They're like two sides of the same coin. So I think I would have given it to Sarah at the end of the day. So the results were kind of what I would have said anyways. It was like, okay.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that they're the two best players of the season, they're the final two is
For now, until I get my redemption story. That's gonna be a comeback.
Hey, JJ technically kind of got it. So
Hey, JJ was representing the OG tribe of nerds very
Yes.
well. He
Yeah.
Let's
represented.
be real. I also kind of got my reckoning. Like when I gave my immunity to Jack, that should have screwed me.
Yes.
And it didn't. But yeah, that
Well, like
came back in this game.
well, like I said, I like laughed when you just told someone your quote of like, Yeah, me giving immunity was just me being a dumbass. Like, I was like, that was so funny to me.
Well, okay, because Ryan thought like that was the only thing he knew, I think. And so he thought that that's why I was a villain and
Right.
maybe didn't have the context of the situation. But
Mhm.
no, that has nothing to do with me being a villain.
Right.
JJ schemes. He just always schemes.
Yeah, exactly. And
If he comes to you with a plan, know there's like 2 other plans he has already planned out in his head, and you won't know about it. And if you find out one of the plans, guess what? He's got a backup plan of how to get rid of you again. It's
Right.
just stupid. It's so
I don't know what's
mayhem.
really funny about that to me, Will, is that my game is so reactionary. I'm actually
Yeah.
rarely planning. I'm usually just like, oh, I'm doing this now, and then I do it
Mhm.
the whole time. And that's just how I play most games. It's why I suck at chess, is because I don't take the time to think through my moves. I'm just like, let's do this move because this seems like the right thing to do in this moment.
yeah.
Yeah, I think the hardest thing is just with the way my game goes and the way I always strategize is just simply I go off against what people are giving off, like their vibes
Right.
and stuff like that. That's what I base a lot of my strategy on. And also just my mindset is just like if I can win a challenge, I'm going to win a challenge kind of deal. So it's like during the team aspect, the flip cup hurt my pride so much that someone outbeat me because I had flips. I needed one more, and I watched it bounce, and it just like the frat side of me like got so hurt. I'm like this could have been the game where at least I earned my place, right?
Yeah.
But anywho, but like my strategy, a lot of my strategy comes from it's like all right, I'll just talk to people
Mhm.
because what I picked up with the group. And I loved it about them. They were committed to the bit. And a lot of them had a role that they wanted to play and they were sticking with it. But throughout that, there's always cracks in it. And you can really see where people's intentions are. And it was great. Because like I had a feeling like when I got done talking with Kevin and all that, like right before we got to the vote, in my thought I'm like, I'm gonna be the one they vote for. Like I knew. Just by how people were interacting with me, I'm like, all right, I could see the writing on the wall. It is what it is. But like, if you give me an opportunity, if I see an opening, oh, you bet your ass, I'm gonna walk through that door, and I'll tell you I'm walking through the door.
Yeah.
I'll tell you. I'll be like, hey, I know you're full of shit. So what are we gonna do about this now?
See,
all right?
and that's why you were the 2 I wanted to bring back from the OG seasons to this, because I think that you were probably 2 of the best players from the OG series, in my opinion. So, well, and you started this podcast with me, but
Bragging rights. That's all right.
but like, I don't know, it's just like, and the season you guys played, in my opinion, is still one of my better seasons out of like the OG seasons as well. So it's like, I mean, if
I
I'm
like that it was in person too. That was really cool. Like that one.
Yeah.
It added a little bit. It added more joy seeing JJ's live reaction to how that immunity went. It just made it so much better seeing that in person. To be there, to witness the mayhem.
Yeah. and voted Zach Todd out like twice.
Oh my god, Zach's reaction still is my favorite.
Literally, fuck you.
Tiki just immediately turns, fuck you guys.
The moment that will stick
So
out
weird.
in my head the absolute most, probably forever. Like I barely even remember the whole thing with me giving away immunity. Like I know that it happened because it continued to get told to me, and I remember that it happened, but actually like seeing that in my head, it's just not there anymore. The 2 that stick out to me though are voting out Drake.
Because he gave up, he fell on his sword.
Right. For the very beginning, he was just like, vote me out. And then the wall sits.
Yes.
Where my
Oh.
strategy was just, okay, I can't focus on this. Let's start saying the names of Pokemon.
In Pokédex order.
Yeah, I remember that, and everyone was just like, the fuck he doing? What is he doing? Okay. The only thing I remember, from what I remember, was I had an immunity.
Yeah, you had the idol, yeah.
Yeah. And I held on to that motherfucker for the longest goddamn time because I was like, I have this shit, and I'm going to wait till it is just when I need to use it. And the whole time I was riding through that game,
Mhm.
so confident because I'm like, I ain't the target. I ain't the target. I ain't the target. Once we started getting narrowed down, then I was like, oh, a little bit of the spotlight's on me. Guess what? Watch this. Boom, here's the idol. All right,
Yep.
guys, go ahead, cash your votes. Let's see how this goes. I
And you
can't
saved
let-
yourself by playing it
Yeah,
correct.
I'm like, I ain't gonna give this away. Fuck, I earned it. I earned this.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, that I still look back on that one fondly. Even with what happened the next season when JJ and Jack came back, and I guess Jarvis, because he played in season 5 before season 6, where he had his like redemption there.
Mhm.
But like, even with what happened in season 6 with Jack specifically, like I still look back on your guys' like first season as definitely like really fond memories.
That was the ATO special, baby.
Yeah, for sure. Well, so before we move on to our MCU recast, JJ, I did want to ask, because like I was talking with Michael, the guy who came in third, and I was wondering, because if Sarah took Michael to the end over Kevin, we were running through like the jury votes between Sarah and Michael at that point, and we thought that that would have been close as well. And we thought that you would probably have been the swing vote between Sarah and Michael at that point. I mean, who would you have voted for in that situation?
Okay, so I would have needed the jury for that.
Right.
I'm gonna take kind of a long route to actually get to answering your question, but I promise I'll answer it.
Okay.
So the reason that I voted for Kevin over Sarah is because of the jury. Because in that jury, Sarah touted up the way that she played the game.
Mhm.
And I'll be honest, like I do think she played a great game.
Mhm.
But in that same response, she was talking about how she just sat back and let people tell her things. And I'm like, that's not playing the game. Like if you kind of, some of it was just you lucked into it. Like
Mhm.
people coming to you with information, you didn't set that up for yourself.
Mhm.
But I think I probably would have voted for Michael. And the reason for that is that this man comes to us after the merge and is playing this game of, oh, I'm so scared. Like, I'm going to get voted off first thing. Like, whatever I can do to make sure it's not me that goes home. Like, I'm
In
going to
his
follow
sweet British
Jordan.
accent.
Oh, that had nothing to do with it. It was just, he just was so good at playing that role, at making me think that he was genuinely scared and not planning it. And then he gets into third. And I'm just like, okay, that's not what I expected.
Yeah. Yeah. So Sarah clearly made the right choice taking Kevin over Michael. So, because then she would have lost by 1 vote. So, all right. Well, let's get into our MCU recast now that we're done with that. So, Will, if you want to take it away here.
Yeah, so I proposed this idea to the other two in our chat, and because the way Marvel's been going, and let's be honest, everyone's been having mixed feelings about how Marvel's been with some of their products. It's been a lot of a roller coaster, and the highs are not as high as we probably would have wanted.
Yep.
Granted, certain projects you could definitely say are the best of what recently has been out. Guardians 3. Some people would say Loki, the season 2. But compared to what else is out there, jury's still out of how good are they really. Guardians 3, I think, is legit.
Yeah.
But kind of made me thinking, I was like, it feels like Marvel's on a way to reboot the Avengers. Because I feel like whenever shit gets funky, sometimes the best thing to do is just hit a reset button.
Right.
And so it got me thinking, I'm like, wow, man, if we were like to get a new Avengers, like the same, like the OGs and a few other characters that I threw in as well, and they were to recast them, like who would we want to see and who filled in roles? So I sent out a message to these guys and I was like, hey, pick actors you would love to see in the role for certain Avengers spots or certain roles in the MCU universe. And so we got together a little list here. So first thing, I'm going to name off the hero. And I want to hear you guys tell me who you guys would want to see in that role, and then I'll reveal mine, and we'll just have a little good old discussion about it, a little barbershop style. So the first one, we're going to start with the boy in blue, the leader himself, Captain America. So JJ, what do you got in that role?
Okay, so I'm gonna be real. I wanted to spend more time today thinking about this than I have.
Mhm.
But someone that I think could pull off Captain America really well, and I think he could also do Thor pretty well, but probably even better as Captain America, is Henry Cavill.
Oh yeah.
And largely what I'm basing this off of is his performance in Witcher. And I know that as Geralt, he's like supposed to be really dry, so we don't see a lot of that acting come through. But Captain America is really a stoic character, and I think Henry Cavill is good at playing characters who are meant to not be highly emotional,
Mhm.
but still have a lot of nuance and subtlety that he brings to the.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I mean, we saw him play Superman really well, and just kind of the direction DC went with it didn't really it hurt the product, and it had nothing to do with Henry Cavill, who was fantastic in the role as Superman. So I like we know he can do that, and then I have no issues with him like obviously leading a team. I feel like he can do that kind of thing really well too.
Right? I mean, hey, JJ, it's like you got to copy my list because I got Henry Cavill as Captain America too. But instead for like the witch role, I had it like Baruki brought up for Superman because, and I think JJ hit the nail on the head when he was talking about it. Not even necessarily like him speaking, but Henry Cavill, I feel like just has this presence and this physical acting ability to where you look at this guy, especially when in the role of Superman, like him, just the way he held himself,
Mhm.
you've seen a leader, and I think he just fits that role very well. I think him being Captain America would be in some ways similar to a Superman role,
Mhm.
somewhat. There would be some differences, but we also see him with Geralt too, and a different, more. I would say Geralt's a more tragic role in some aspects, and tragic for just in the sense of like the lifestyle Geralt lives too. It's more rugged. And I feel like Captain America is like a middle ground in a sense because he's a man out of time. Like that is not easy. Like everything he knew in his world and his time period is gone now. He's in
Mhm.
a whole new world essentially. So I feel like Henry Cavill would be able to hold himself in a good light in that role. Jake, did you got Henry or you got somebody else? You could pull
I
somebody else out?
Yeah, I think Henry is a great pick, honestly. I didn't have anyone else like JJ. I wish I would have spent a little more time thinking. I came off of rewatching Harry Potter for the podcast tomorrow, and I was trying to think of like
Mm-hmm.
castings after that. And I just think I think I agree with you guys that Henry Cavill would be a great Captain America. I was trying to also like think back to who was also in the running when Captain America was getting cast besides Chris Evans.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think back. I think John Krasinski at one point was in the running.
I
Um,
heard a little bit. I thought he was too. Yeah, I thought so as well.
and then I
Now,
think ironically Chris Pratt was in the running at one point to be Captain
that would be
America.
an interesting one, honestly. That would
Yeah.
have been an interesting one, Chris Pratt in that role. I couldn't see it, but maybe that's just because we've seen him as Star Lord.
Yeah.
So I think it's a little bit harder to see it in that sense.
Right.
But okay, so like since Henry Cavill was brought up, do we think he would have done a better job than Chris Evans, or do we think Chris Evans is just like solidified himself as the Captain America? Because as we see it, and even now technically because Captain America is a title. But I'm
Yeah.
talking about like Steve Rogers, Captain
Steve
America.
Rogers. Yeah.
We're not like I'm not talking about like the next person to take the mantle. I'm talking about Steve Rogers, Captain America. Do we think Chris Evans is kind of like that lockup, where it's like it's his role, or do you think Henry Cavill could have been done just as good of a job, if not better?
So my thing with Henry Cavill is like I feel like with Captain America with Steve Rogers, he also has a little bit of that boyish charm to him, and I think Chris Evans was able to emulate that as well. And I'm not saying Henry Cavill couldn't do that, but I guess I haven't seen Henry Cavill do that part as well, or like kind of the Boy Scout kind of thing as much as Chris Evans could pull it off. So, but I'm sure Henry Cavill could do it because he's a great actor.
JJ,
JJ?
you got any dumb?
I think they would have done comparable jobs. I don't really see either of them doing significantly better than the other.
Mhm.
I think Chris Evans has done an excellent job with the role.
Mhm.
And I just feel like they would bring different, like they would bring a difference to the role, but neither one of them is clearly better than the other.
Yeah, I hear you. I was thinking about it, and I feel like Chris Evans is probably as close to locking up like the role of Steve Rogers. Because Jake, I think you hit the nail on the head. Like that almost like child naivety that he
Mhm.
brings. Like he's got that because Steve Rogers in some way is like his ideals are like almost just so simple to address complicated problems in a lot of
Right.
ways. And I feel like though even just the way he presents Steve Rogers, you see it in his eyes. Like you see this, and I'm not saying simplicity is an insult, but like just the way of just, all right, I see a problem. This is how we're going to address the problem. He's got his way,
Mhm.
and I think Henry Cavill's got a different kind of aura around him, a little bit different. So I could definitely see it. I think between the two, I think I would rather have. I think Chris Evans would be the better Captain America, but I think it's just for a personal preference. I think certain charms Chris Evans just captures better. And maybe that's just because a little biased because we've seen him in that role.
Yeah.
But I think Chris Evans has done a good enough job to where it's like it's safe to say it's like, yeah, no, that's his role.
Yeah.
Because like I no longer think of Human Torch and Chris Evans. Like it's
Right.
Captain America and Chris Evans now at this point.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, because like Human Torch was just coming off of Chris Evans, like basically being like not another teen movie and all these like raunchy comedies and like we hadn't seen him do something super serious or like teen comedies and it didn't get serious until he became Captain America, and then we've seen him in other stuff since then, and including like Knives Out and stuff where he is able to play like both comedic and like a little more serious at the same time. So
Right. I got you. All right. Well, the next character I'm going to throw up is one of my personal favorites. The one who I think needs a huge reboot in and of itself, anyways, just because I think they've done him dirty as a character. We're
mhm,
gonna go with the Hulk slash Bruce Banner because Bruce Banner and the Hulk are essentially two different characters in one role. Essentially,
yeah,
Hulk you can kind of get away with anyways because, um, most of the time it's CGI anyways. But
right.
I want to say Hulk and Bruce Banner essentially. So, Jake, I'm gonna start with you this time. Like, who is an actor you thought would be a great new Bruce?
Oh boy. Well, I'd have to think about this a little more, but I will say, I mean, assuming that they're not going to recast Edward Norton, obviously, like, he only got to do it for one movie, and like obviously, we know the history behind that. And I'm just trying to think of someone that could be like what Mark Ruffalo has been able to do with the role, but I also want them to stick back to what makes Hulk the Hulk and not go like the Professor Hulk or Smart Hulk route, because like I'd love for them to just stick at what makes that character who he is and the conflict. And so I'm just trying to think of like I definitely want to hear your guys' suggestions on this because I might align with who you guys say as well.
JJ, you got any? Did you come up
All
with
right.
any names?
So, as weird as it is to say this, let's take a look at some people who have played similar roles in the Sonyverse.
Okay.
Oh,
So, I mean, we've got someone who is haunted by this transformation that they can't really control.
I think
So,
I already
are
know
we
where
doing
you're
Nicolas
going.
Cage right now?
Obviously, we're gonna have to go with Jared Leto. No,
Okay.
to steal your suggestion that you told me through chat, I really do think Tom Hardy would be really good as Hulk. We've seen him play Venom. We've seen the way that he interacts with this other side of himself. And I know that Tom Hardy typically gets cast in these like gruffer, um, I'd say like action hero type roles where there's not as much room for him to be, the scientist that Bruce Banner is. But I see no issue with Tom Hardy pulling off that side of Bruce either. I think he would do an excellent job of pulling off all of the emotional toll that being Hulk would take on Bruce Banner.
Yeah.
JJ. I told JJ out the side, like I was like, yeah, Tom Hardy was like, because Tom Hardy is one of my favorite actors outright.
Mhm.
He's one of my favorites. Not even just for like the Venom, but his work in the Dark Knight series as Bane. Like I think that was just great. But believe it or not, because this was like a last minute thing where, and by last minute I mean like a couple nights ago, I was thinking about this, and I was like, nah, I love Tom Hardy, but I had Tom Hardy in a role before I had him set with the recast of Hulk in my dream world. And I pulled this one out, and this one hurts me because he plays a character I love again. And I would hate to see him go, but I think he would make it work. And I want you guys to hear me out on this. Oscar Isaac as Bruce Banner and the Hulk.
I could see this because I mean, again, I know I haven't been the kindest about the show Moon Knight, but I think Oscar Isaac as Moon Knight is great. And like you bring him up as the Hulk, I could definitely see it. Oscar Isaac is an actor with so much range, and like I think he could definitely pull this off. Now that
we've seen him in Moon Knight playing with like multiple personalities, seeing that rugged side, but at the same time, he also is able to present himself as somebody where you would believe is like, oh yeah, this guy can be smart too. I mean, you see it with some of his personalities, and like even Mark himself is intelligent too. So it's not like he's like just like you look at him and you think dumb for anything, but he also looks intimidating too. He's got like that blend of things. But you don't look at Bruce Banner as intimidating, but you look at somebody who's struggling and stressed. And the way I was looking at it with Oscar, you could definitely portray a Bruce who's going through it. Like this man is just trying his best to just make do with it. And I feel like that would be a great casting for that story aspect of Bruce's life in terms of like he's still trying to figure it out. Because like what I liked about Mark Ruffalo, and specifically just Mark Ruffalo in Avengers 1 and Age of Ultron as well too. Yeah, that is a Bruce who's been through it, and he's just at a point where he just knows what he is, and I love that portrayal for Mark Ruffalo. Mark Ruffalo, I'm not saying this is like his bad thing to Mark, but I think Mark Ruffalo starting off, when they were presenting the Hulk as like a threat in that sense, and as like your emergency button to push, he did a great job showing a very mentally exhausted Bruce. But like I feel like Oscar could do a really good job portraying a Bruce who's still trying to navigate the hoops, still trying to like get a habit of adjusting to having this whole other being a part of him. And I think he would just show the physical side of just being tormented by this so well. And like I just couldn't ignore it. But it hurts me because I love Oscar as Moon Knight. And I think that was one of the best casting. And this is just a personal thing. I know probably people might know there. I think it's up there as one of Marvel's best casting. Oscar Isaac as Moon Knight. I think that's one of the best casting Marvel has done. But I think he would also pull off Bruce Banner and Hulk so well.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Now that you're saying it, yeah, I could definitely see him as the Hulk if they choose to go a different route and not have him as Moon Knight anymore, which I hope to see him as that character more, but I mean, the way like you've been saying, I see the MCU going towards a reboot as well. So JJ, any more thoughts on the Hulk?
Yeah, so we kind of have a solution to your pain over recasting Oscar Isaac. I was going to bring up Moon Knight anyway as my throw-in for later, so we'll come back to that a bit.
Okay, I will be listening because I have so many questions.
No, I don't want to recast him. I just am interested to hear who y'all think who else would do a good job as Moon Knight.
And then some of these I wouldn't want to recast anyways, but like we were just like for the purpose of it, we're just starting fresh here. All right, but this next case. Well,
I was also going to say, I that was my favorite thing about Edward Norton's Hulk in Incredible Hulk was the way that we got to see the particularly the stress and
Mhm.
the trauma of what being the Hulk did to him. And
Yeah.
like you said, I love Mark Ruffalo's Hulk in that we get to see, okay, he's lived with this for a really long time. He's figured this out. This is what it's like to just be the Hulk. But it's also, it makes for an amazing story to see someone battling this thing that they haven't accepted yet.
Mhm.
And yeah, I think
It's
Oscar Isaac.
almost like we would like Oscar would be before Edward, because I feel like Edward is like his portrayal of Bruce is he's got a plan now. It's still like he's still going through his journey, but he at least has got somewhat of a routine down where he's like, okay, this seems to be helping me. This seems to be how I've been tracking it well. And then we get to Mark or Mark Ruffalo is just, man, I did it. It is what it like. He's still like on eggshells, but it's almost more so like he's just going through the motions because he's like,
Mhm.
I got to deal with it. I feel like Oscar would be a great like portion of Bruce's life in terms of like, holy shit, I don't know what I can do. I don't know who I'm gonna hurt. Oh, like you would see the anxiety just irradiating off him, and I think that would just be a beautiful story. I think that would be great. Um, Next character, we're gonna go into Scarlet Witch. She's not one of the original members, but she quickly became a fan favorite character in the MCU, and rightfully so. She is a badass queen. We all love power queens.
Mhm.
So JJ, gotta
Um,
recast her, man. Especially since also this could be a real deal because Elizabeth Olsen, from what I was seeing and what I remember, her contract isn't no longer a thing, and she's not re-upping it anytime soon.
oh shoot, you said Scarlet Witch.
Yes, Scarlet Witch.
Oh, I don't know for her. I hadn't even thought about her yet. Like you, I was thinking about Black Widow. Come
Well, if
back
we
to
let's all right, if you got Black Widow on the mind, let's go Black Widow then, because I
I
got my
went for
list.
Black Widow now as well.
Yeah, let's
okay.
go.
So thinking like I'm going on recent cinematography on
I did with this one pick too. Yeah, but go ahead.
similar roles and who I think would really pull off this character well based on other roles that she's done recently. Anna de Armas.
I literally put her down just
Wait.
Ooh,
go ahead. But
I think she is an excellent action film actress.
yes.
And I also think that she would do really well at navigating the dynamics that Black Widow brings to the team, both as a member of S.H.I.E.L.D. and as someone who's against S.H.I.E.L.D. Like she just pulls off that spy role really well, I think.
Yeah. I totally see that in her as well. And like I was also thinking because she's done a lot with Chris Evans now. I mean, like she's done what Knives Out, she's done a couple other action movies. Like she has that good rapport with him. I know like obviously if we're rebooting, we're not gonna have Chris Evans anymore. But like I don't know. I was thinking off that too. But then like you said, she can absolutely do the action part of it. You know, she's someone who can use her looks to her advantage like Black Widow does. And just like, yeah, I totally agree with that.
I like that pick. Honestly, I went more recency bias on this one because this one like stumped me a little bit because I was trying to think. But this one is more so. I think I would just love to see how she would pull it off because we've seen her in a wide range of roles already, and I would love to see her in the more spy theme. I got Margaret Robbie as Black Widow.
It'd be good
It's
too.
more so just because I would be so curious to see what she could pull off because we seen her like in a range because from Harley Quinn to the Barbie movie, like that is a range because you went from you're all over there with that. And I would love to see her in a very calculated role and in like that spyish role with
Mhm.
Black Widow because I think like she would already like check it out because like we seen her in like with Harley Quinn, she could pull off the action side of things with no issues.
Mhm.
And then also with like Barbie, it's like eye candy, you know what I mean? Because like that's part of like the charm of what Black Widow is. She
Right.
lures people in. She's got the looks. It's like it's what makes her like it's part of it. But like she's a badass at the end of the day, and I feel like Margate could really pull that off. And I just would love to see her in the role of Black Widow because I don't know, it's just like hard not to. Like I feel like she would knock it out of the park.
Oh, I think for sure she would knock it out of the park. I
But
mean,
I like your guys' casting better. Like I didn't think about it, but it's like
yeah.
I think we could save Margot Robbie for Scarlet Witch then.
I had somebody else with that. If you want to like throw her in there, I had somebody else there, man.
Well, you mentioned her versatility with things like Harley Quinn versus Barbie. And
Right, yeah.
I think that she could do really well as Scarlet Witch. I was thinking on it more though while we were talking about that. And another name I want to throw up for Scarlet Witch is Mandy Moore.
Okay.
I'm going mostly based off of what I've seen in This Is Us and the depth that she would bring to Scarlet Witch would really make the character shine so much more than I think she has before. And I think that a big problem with the way that Scarlet Witch is presented in the MCU is the quick turn to evil. That, like, yes, it makes sense because Vision died, but also, like, everybody has people that died.
Right.
That's part of Scarlet Witch's character that I think is just lacking in the way that it's brought to the screen. And I think Mandy Moore would do a really good job of bringing that complexity.
Yeah, I mean, I think if they were to reboot, I think with her character, I think another thing that needs to happen is they need to take a little more time with it, with the character showing the transformation from good to evil, or evil to good, then back to evil again. But like, I think that was a problem as well for like people to keep up with and for it to make complete sense. I totally agree with that.
I hear you. For this one, I went with something for the premise of making the Scarlet Witch younger to really show like how power can be very influential and like can corrupt very well. So I like with this casting, I went with a younger Scarlet Witch, and I went with Jenna Ortega.
Oh, yeah.
And I think
I'm for
Jenna
it.
could. I think Jenna could play a younger Scarlet Witch. So you would have to change up some of the plot lines, of what it was. But with a reboot, you change new storylines anyways. But I think Jenna would be able to portray a younger Scarlet Witch, and I think it would do a great job showing a young Scarlet Witch learning her powers, having a lot of this stuff, all the stuff she's gone through. If they keep that same aim, like basic plot line, if we're just assuming that stuff. But it would just be great to see. I think she would pull it off very well. You could like we see her like in Wednesday, like just she has an aura around her to where it's like it will spook you, but it also like gets your attention. You know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
got that spooky, alluring like attention where you're just like you just something about her. You're just like it gets the hairs on the back of your neck stand up, but like you're intrigued, and I think she would be able to bring that with Scarlet Witch. And I would love to see a younger Scarlet Witch just going through the journey of mastering her powers, maybe going through a little bit of an evil spree, but coming back around. And then who knows? Maybe like later on we get a more grown Scarlet Witch who's the badass queen that you see in the comics, or a version of that of some shape or form. I feel like that would be a cool thing to see.
Yeah, and like also from the beginning, now they can actually give Scarlet Witch like her mutant origins from the very start and not have to like go back to it later because of rights.
Yeah, we could bring it up with like the whole it's mutants now, like an actual mutant deal.
That's true. And age-wise, that pairs well with my Quicksilver pick.
Oh, you got a Quicksilver. You threw Quicksilver in?
Okay, just because I think it's funny, Grant Gustin.
He was the Flash, right?
I dig it. I could see it. They robbed him of the Flash role, give him the Quicksilver role. I can see that.
We didn't get enough of Quicksilver in the MCU
Nope.
to really have much of a basis for why we're casting someone as this character. So I think we could really put anyone in the role to blow it open for whatever direction we're trying to go. But I just think that lines up well. Jenna Ortega and Grant Gustin on the screen together would be a delight.
Oh man, I think that would be great to see. Just because I think the internet would do its thing, and seeing Grant in the role of a different speedster of some kind, that would be just perfect.
Have they been on screen together, Jenna Ortega and Grant Gustin?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
Not that
I
I can think of.
I can't think of any time, but I'm not super familiar with either of their work.
right. Right. Well, I just know Jenna Ortega's also been in Scream in the past few years as well. So
Right. Yeah, there we go. That too.
um,
So next character.
So
I wanna
well.
throw- What's up?
Sorry. I was just thinking, you mentioned that, and then I'm thinking of how she just was Wednesday. Jenna Ortega would do so well in a Sam Raimi film.
oh yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh. Now we cooking. Now we cooking out here.
Yeah.
There we go. This is what I'm talking about, people. All right, so the next character I want to go over, we're gonna go to the one man that was set it all up. He was the one with the plan, the one-eyed man himself, Nick Fury.
Oh,
I threw Nick Fury on this list because I feel like Nick Fury is just as an important role to have in when talking about like the Avengers as anything else. But I'm really curious on who you guys threw up, and if you don't mind, I'm gonna take the lead on this one because I was very proud of this one. I thought really proud of this one. I want good old Liam Neeson as Nick Fury.
oh.
I feel like Liam Neeson as Nick Fury would just be it. Like that's the only way you could ever compete probably with Samuel L. Jackson's work as Nick Fury.
Yeah, well, just like him literally just be telling like Loki or like Thanos being like, I will find you and I will kill you.
We have a very particular set of skills.
I enjoy Liam Neeson as Nick Fury. I think that'd be fun.
I can't contribute anything because, Will, I 100% agree with you. You said Nick Fury, and I hadn't thought about this before now, but the only name that came to my head was Liam Neeson. So, yep.
I feel like that would it's just the way it's got to be. I was trying to think of some other names to maybe like,
one.
What's up?
I was thinking of another badass, like old school actor. I was thinking Denzel.
Denzel would be interesting. That I don't hate it. I don't hate it. I do like Denzel. I would love to see Denzel in MC Universe. Oh man, that would where would no, I love Denzel, but I think Liam Neeson would just have the
I think Liam Neeson's the better pick, but like Denzel would hold his own, I think too.
So Samuel Jackson or Liam Neeson, Nick Fury, you got a choice here.
Well, we've spent time with him longer, and the fact that the comics literally designed, Nick Fury
he
and
revolutionized
Sam Jackson.
the character right there, baby.
Yeah, and that's the reason why he was primarily picked for Nick Fury going into Iron Man. I love Sam Jackson. In the role, but like Liam Neeson would be cool too. If they reboot it and everything, I just really want them to not screw Nick Fury up as much as they have now with like Secret Invasion and stuff, because that has been sad to watch Nick Fury kind of go downhill a little bit as well.
JJ, you got the choice. Samuel L. Jackson or Liam Neeson is your Nick Fury. You got to pick one, man.
In a rebooted, I would want Liam Neeson, not just because it's new actors. Like, I'd be fine keeping some of the same actors.
Mm-hmm.
I love what Samuel L. Jackson has brought to the role, and I want that. I don't want to add anything. I don't want to change it. I just want to let that be what it's been. And now I want to see someone new also do the role. I love what he's done. It's great. Just leave it alone. Don't do anything to it.
Ironically enough, another person who's been a Jedi, because Sam Jackson was Mace Windu and Liam Neeson was Qui-Gon Jinn.
That's fair.
Oh, yeah. I'm not also just saying Liam Neeson has also played God in 2 other franchises. He was
that's true.
Aslan in Narnia. He was Zeus in Clash of the Titans. I'm just saying, if there's anybody to be a leader of something, Liam Neeson's it.
What were you
That's
saying, Jader?
crazy. I didn't know he was Aslan.
Yeah,
You
he's
didn't know
Aslan.
that? Yeah, he
Yes.
voiced the lion, dude.
It was
That's
like,
great.
yeah.
Yeah, man.
Just like our childhoods also.
Yeah. JJ's having a whole new awakening. He's like,
No, my
okay.
dad would love Liam
Lion
Neeson as
Jesus
Nick
was
Fury.
Liam Neeson.
Like
The first
my
thing I really know him from, sorry, Jake, I didn't mean to
No, you're
cut you
good.
off.
You're good.
The first thing I really know him from is Fallout 3. Like that was my big thing that I did as a kid. And it was like Liam Neeson is my dad in this.
Oh my god, that is awesome. But no, I feel like Nick Fury would be. That's the thing with a lot of these roles. Is like certain ones are like easier to kind of reboot than others. Like this next one I'm gonna throw up. So difficult to talk about recasting because it's almost like impossible to think anybody could ever take on the role after what he's done. But we're gonna try to rip the Band-Aid off. Going Tony Stark, Iron Man. Yeah,
God.
sadly, Robert Downey Jr. is not coming back. We that's the world at this point. But if we had to do it, we gotta replace.
That's the problem.
I'm going to put up 3 names. And I know that's not really how we've been doing this, but I'm going to do it.
By all means, let's go. This is barbershop style, baby.
All right. So the first 2 come to us straight from Invincible, and they would give us completely different takes on the role.
Okay.
J.K. Simmons is my first pick. I think he'd be a different Tony Stark who's older and who is truly the leader of the Avengers. Like, I know that he's sort of is now. It's like him and it's Cap and it's back and forth and it's this whole team thing. But J.K. Simmons would be the leader of the Avengers. And he would be like a combat hardened Tony Stark who's not as quippy. Maybe he's had some losses that we've seen some of our other heroes have.
Yeah, I mean, J.K. Simmons can hold his own in the quip department. Like we've seen him as J. Jonah Jameson hold his own in there, and like other roles. Like I mean, it's I actually like that pick. It would be definitely different, but I can see a little bit.
Man, that was tough. You're gonna have to sell me on that one a little bit, man. I don't know. I love J.K. Simmons. Don't get me wrong, but I get what you're going at with the angle. I don't know. I don't know. I can't.
You're gonna love my second pick then, Will, because it's gonna be controversial. I would never have said this if I hadn't seen him in the role that he played in Invincible. Never would have said this. But I think Seth Rogen could potentially pull that off.
Whoa!
That wouldn't be his role. It wouldn't at all be the sort of raunchy comedy that he's done before, but it'd be more like this like lighter, serious role. Not quite super funny, but also not like deadly serious either.
I like him as Alan the Alien. Like, I think that's my favorite Seth Rogen role because it's so different from what we've seen him in, like you said. But I don't know if I see Seth Rogen as a Tony Stark. Like, I just don't see it.
Oh my god, that is controversial. That is a spicy take. I might have to get some oven mitts to hold that one on for a little bit. Oof.
All right, here's my third one. I think this will be the one that will sit with y'all the best. Christian Bale.
Oh, Christian Bale. I do love Christian Bale.
Now we got something. Now we got something that we can work with here. All right, cool. Okay.
I'm just gonna leave that one. Y'all say what you want about Christian Bale.
Just bring Batman over and take on Tony Stark.
And the God Butcher.
I can't hate too much because one of my options that came to mind was also a Batman, so I can't hate too much.
Which Batman?
So he's not the one I went with. This one, it's an interesting one. I don't think it's a very hot take. I went with Tom Cruise.
He was supposed to be Iron Man at one point.
At one point he was supposed to be. I was just like, I literally kept thinking, I'm like, who would bring that magnetism what Tony Stark is? And I was like, it's so hard to top what Robert Downey Jr. did. I don't think anybody could. But I'm like, if there's anybody who could have a conversation about it, I was like, Tom Cruise. He's one. He is that
Yeah.
that like your stereotypical ladies man actor, like everyone talks about, does action very well, as we all know. It's his
Yeah.
legacy. I feel like he would be a really good Tony Stark Iron Man. But the other name I was thinking of, and I ended up going with Tom Cruise over him, but I was laughing because I was pretty much just bringing some DC characters over. Ben Affleck is Tony Stark.
Oh.
Eh.
Like Mr. Seth Rogen. You had Donkey Kong come over to be Tony Stark.
You had the guy
I don't
from
wanna
The Interview
hear it.
and Neighbors, and this is the
Exactly.
and
At
Sausage
least
Party.
Ben
Listen.
Affleck played a billionaire. He played Batman. I just think Ben Affleck would be a good one because more to that same angle of like what you were thinking with J.K. Simmons, a more older Tony. I think Ben could be very surprising like with quips. I think he could be that little charming billionaire, like people would want to see with Tony. But I think he would just also just I think he would be just as believable in that role as anything
Sure.
else. And I think he just has got that image because I feel like Tony, you want to cast somebody who's got that look because that's part of what Tony Stark is because he's like larger than life, even the way he carries himself, because that's the beauty of a lot of these characters is the way they hold themselves. And what Robert Downey Jr. did is he brought life to Tony Stark in the sense of just not even just the way he talked, the way he walked, the way he acted, the way he just physically was.
Mhm.
So that's why I was like Tom Cruise and Ben Affleck were really the only two names that came up. I do like Christian Bale though. I do like that one. That is an interesting one right there.
Yeah, I had one that because he just got cast as Reed Richards, I put Pedro Pascal on the list. And I do love Pedro. I think Pedro is this extremely charismatic person. I think he could obviously pull off the Tony Stark look as well. And just like I think Pedro, I mean, we're gonna see him as Reed Richards, so we're gonna see him as another extremely intelligent character. So like
he would fit in well with the Tony Stark the way it goes because Pedro's good at taking on roles where he adopts a child.
right.
Iron Man, Spider-Man, boom, there you go. There's another storyline where Pedro adopts another child and has to guide him through a journey.
I think he would do really well in that role. I really do.
Jake, I think you convinced me on a role switch. I think Pedro. I didn't even thought about that.
Yeah.
I don't think he's the best choice.
I don't think
Pedro.
he's the best choice. No.
No, that's not. Sorry, let me rephrase because I'm leading into something else. It's not talking about Pedro. I don't think that Seth Rogen is the best choice. I don't. But I want to give one more really solid argument. Okay. Just listen. Okay. What kind of roles did Robert Downey Jr. play before he played Tony Stark?
Some comedy stuff like Tropic Thunder and like he was Charlie Chaplin at one point.
He played things like Due Date with Zach Galifianakis. Same kind of shit Seth Rogen plays.
Hey, Tropic Thunder is a classic.
Okay. I think Pedro Pascal would be a really good one, I think, for sure. Tom Cruise, Pedro Pascal, and Christian Bale, I think would be our best suggestions out of this.
I think if you were trying to go like more capture the mainstream, Pedro would definitely be the better choice of just catching it. Like, what's trending because he is a big time trending name and rightfully so, but like I feel like he would be good for that. JJ Christian Bale is like a better second. I definitely, like you mentioned that, I think I would want him definitely over Tom Cruise. Like you guys blew me away on my pick. Iron Man was tough because I was just like, I don't want to do it. Robert Downey, can we keep him? But I was like, I made a promise myself, like with this recasting, I was not going to keep somebody. And I wasn't going to try to pull you just can't replace him. It's like, nah, we are. Somebody has to be replaced.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, I was thinking about it too. I'm like, even like with shuffling people around, funny enough, like in terms of the cast we have now, I really feel like Chris Evans could also has gotten to a point where he could pull off a Tony Stark.
Yeah, he could.
I feel like it would be funny.
With the
Chris
comedy,
Evans could play any of the big four on the Avengers. He could play. Honestly, he could play Hawkeye too. He could play any of those 5.
Mhm.
I wouldn't be
think he
upset about
could.
it.
You see the way he is off camera in these interviews and stuff like that. I'm like,
He's funny.
He would be such a child Tony Stark, and I love it. Like, and then where he's just got the childish antics, and I'm just like, I love it so much.
Fuck. Let's just have an alternate universe, where everybody's Chris Evans. He just plays all the roles.
Even Black
Across
Widow.
across
Even
the
Black
Chris
Widow.
universe. Only Chris Evans in all the roles. Scarlet Witch, Chris Evans. Black Widow, Chris Evans.
Squirrel
Oh.
Girl, Chris Evans.
Yes,
Thanos,
Squirrel
Chris
Girl.
Evans. Just a giant purple Chris
Man, now we
Evans
cooking,
head.
boys. Now we cooking.
Dormammu, Chris Evans. That big tentacle monster, whatever that Doctor Strange fought. Chris Evans.
Surtur, Chris Evans.
Aunt
Oh.
May, Chris Evans.
Perfect. Yeah,
I
Uncle
want-
Ben, Chris Evans. The guy who killed Uncle Ben, Chris Evans. Oh man! All right, we got that one out of the way because that one I feel like is tough. I think is a tough one to try to recast.
Mhm.
But now we're gonna go into the man with the hammer, the big man, the muscles, arguably the strongest Avengers. He self-proclaims. I mean, in the way it was going, he absolutely is in the
Yeah.
MCU for sure. Thor. This one, this one was hard for me too.
Mhm.
Let's stick with the Chris's. I'm gonna suggest Chris Pine for Thor.
Ooh. I
Though-
mean, after Dungeons and Dragons, I could see Chris Pine pulling off Thor.
Well, my
Mhm.
favorite roles that I've seen Chris Pine in were the Star Trek trilogy that he was in.
Yeah.
I think he was absolutely fantastic in that. I don't know what direction Thor would be taken in a reboot. We've seen him in the first 2 movies. We've seen him in the 3 and 4, and it's like totally different Thor. So I really want a balance of those 2 sides of him that is either more of a linear character development or is just more of a well-rounded character the entire time.
And even with this new Thor coming out, from what Chris Hemsworth has been saying, it's a more serious and darker tone of a Thor movie that they're going into with this one. So we're seeing Thor now go from the comedic bubbling fool back now to a darker tone, or what could be a darker tone according to him.
Hopefully.
What's been said. But no, Chris Pine is an interesting. I pulled this one out. I went with Hugh Jackman as Thor.
Interesting.
And I went with this because one, feel like his height would be better suited for Thor. I also just give me an action scene where Thor's going berserk, and I just hear Hugh Jackman raging. Imagine this scenario. Just listening to, like, you know how Wolverine was going through his yells and stuff like that?
Yes.
His screams. Now imagine that being Thor. Smashing Mjolnir around, throwing that boy around, fighting off giants and stuff. I think that would capture the atmosphere perfectly. And Hugh is a very good actor. I feel like he could play that well-rounded role like JJ was mentioning.
Yeah.
I think he could do that. I think Hugh Jackman would be a good Thor. But Chris Pine's an interesting one. I didn't even consider that. And
Hugh Jackman's also done like stage acting and stuff, obviously, so he could do like the Shakespearean kind of thing if they went that direction again. Not saying that they necessarily should go back to that type of Thor, but like if they were going to go for that, I'm sure Hugh Jackman could very easily pull that off.
Mm-hmm. You got any names, Berkey?
I do not. That was one I've been struggling with, trying to figure out who else could play Thor. Because like I'm originally, I mean, Tom Hiddleston almost got the role of Thor before they put him as Loki. So like, how interesting that alternate universe would be.
Yeah, that would have been an interesting one. I don't know if, to be honest, and it's no insult to Tom. I think I don't think it would have worked out as well.
No, I don't think so either. I think he was perfect as Loki. I just thought it was interesting that he.
Well, it is hilarious. It is hilarious to think about in that sense. But no, like Thor is an interesting one. I think Chris Hemsworth has really done a great job though taking on Thor, the only thing that just sucks is just like JJ mentioned, the way his character has been portrayed and how it's changed. It's so hard to gauge like what we want with Thor. It's funny because we went from the first two Thors to being like, oh, Thor's so boring. There's not much of a personality. Then you see him in Avengers. I think Avengers, he had like a pretty good balance in the sense of what he like was. Ragnarok, I think, definitely like was on the line between comedy and serious Thor, but like when it was like one of those moments where it's like when he was funny, he was funny. But then like when he was serious, you remembered, you're like, oh shit, yeah, this is Thor. And I
then
think
Infinity War especially.
yeah. Infinity War. Oh my goodness, that was peak Thor. I will
Yeah.
argue. Infinity War is peak Thor, and
That
Chris
was my
Hemsworth
favorite Thor.
did a great job. And then even beginning of Endgame too, like the
Yeah.
first portion, like the beginning, not the
Yeah,
whole
before the 5-year
thing.
time jump.
Yeah, like that Thor that's sitting just like he's Slim Shady about to drop a beat or something. He's about to drop the hardest bars you ever heard. That Thor scared me. I was like, ooh, this dude's gonna kill, and he did kill.
Yeah, and then he's like, and then even just the depression of like, what did you just do? I went for the head, and then just like,
Yeah. And then even as much as I've ranted before about like the whole Fat Thor being a joke thing, the moment where they were getting serious with Thor and he was talking to his mother, you see the brilliance of Chris Hemsworth's acting with that character,
Yes.
and it's like, why can't we have that more?
right.
Please?
So much of what was wrong with Endgame Thor is all writing of the character, not only of his character, but more so of how other characters treat him.
Yes.
Yes.
Like
Thank
you had
you,
what War Machine making several jokes at his expense, and like,
Tony.
The sad reality is that's kind of how, like, that feels accurate to how that would be treated anyway. Is like he went into this depression and this is how he's responding. And I think it's excellent the way that Chris Hemsworth portrayed that depression.
I think so too.
Other people making fun of it because he's supposed to be Thor. And it's like, that sucks. And that is how people would respond.
But also, I feel like they wrote out that bit too long.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I think it was funny in the beginning where it's like, oh, Thor got fed, ha ha ha, tee hee. Like in the beginning when he's gaming, and all that. I thought that was
Fortnite
funny.
didn't need to be in there.
Right, but then he was just like, I felt like it kept going. I was like, every time we seen him for a while, I was like, okay, dude, what the fuck's going on? Everybody else has been like helping each other cope in a sense, except for, but like JJ, like you were saying, the way they treated it, it's just they're like, Thor, you're kind of a joke, like, you'll bounce back. But meanwhile, all the characters are like going through shit, and they're like, hey, no, we will help you out. Like they're caring about them, and it's like, Thor, you're fine. And like I think it bugged me because it was just like, what the hell? Like we let other characters get some therapy session. Where's Thor? He later got it with his mother, and then finally it was after that moment. Finally, they started taking that shit seriously.
Yeah, I mean, I also did like Viking Thor when he like gets Stormbreaker and Mjolnir.
I know. Oh my god, it was beautiful.
That is forever more one of my all-time favorite scenes is when he summons both weapons at once, and then you get the lightning and the thunder in the background,
and then it
like,
braids his beard and like,
fuck.
Let's kill him properly this time. It's like, okay, dude, now we're back, baby. Now we're back. I think that's the thing with the idea of recasting Thor, though. It's just like you're really just sitting here, just like, man, where's that balance? Like, what is it we want out of Thor? Like, who could portray a well-balanced Thor and stuff like that? And Chris Hemsworth does a good job at the moments. I feel like Chris Hemsworth is one of those things, like, if you give him good stuff to work with, he will capitalize on it. But he's not somebody I think that could really turn around a script. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sleeper pick for Thor.
Okay.
Thor's roommate, Daryl.
Daryl.
Yes. Yes. Well, we know Daryl did make a cameo in Love and Thunder.
True. I'm glad none of us said his brother. I feel like that would have been such an cop-out answer, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I don't think he would pull it off anyway.
No, I don't think so either. I really don't.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
if we're talking about an older timeline here, JJ, I'm gonna pluck from your old bag of tricks or your old suggestion. J.K. Simmons as an older Thor.
What about J.K. Simmons as Odin?
Or we could go
yes,
that
please.
one. I know that wasn't on the list that I sent you, but if we going to talk about we're barbershopping this right now. J.K. Simmons as Odin would be dope as shit.
Yes, I would love that because like we had Anthony Hopkins who was great, but like J.K. Simmons just like doing Odin shouts and stuff. Like I would be
Get me pictures of Loki. Hey, God, he keeps changing his form.
As Odin, but in like more of a older Viking style Thor, where Odin's still on the battlefield and kicking ass.
Oh my God. I'd be terrified of that Odin.
So comic Odin. That's what you mean.
Yeah.
Yes. That would be wild. Oh my God. That's a rabbit hole right there, man. You got me excited for like if we were to recast Odin. I would love that so much. Oh,
We got a whole nother podcast that could come out of this another time, which is actors that we want to see in the MCU and who are we going to.
Oh yeah,
For
there's
example,
that idea. We haven't even
who
talked
would
about if we were to
Jack
like. Yeah, we haven't even talked about like if we were recasting certain villains or something like that.
Yeah.
J.K. Simmons would be an excellent Obadiah Stane.
Oh yes. Yes. I'd be okay with
Oh my goodness! Now we
J.K. Simmons saying the box of scraps line.
Oh, get the fuck out of my face! I'll destroy you.
Okay. Yep. Never mind.
All right.
What?
No. My brain went in so many different directions. I was trying to fill out the roles that would go with that. Like we're casting around J.K. Simmons as Obadiah Stane. Who's his Iron?
Robert Downey Jr. Sorry. Oh my God. No, that's a rabbit hole for sure. But next character we're gonna get into
Hawkeye.
We're going to Hawkeye, man.
Matt Damon.
Oh.
Matt Damon?
Yeah.
I mean,
Matt Damon is Hawkeye?
Yes.
He wasn't Ragnarok and Love and Thunder as fake Loki, so like.
Here's specifically what I think he would bring to the role is the whole family dynamic and like really subtle glue of the Avengers in a way that Hawkeye's presented, I think, especially in Infinity War, how his wife tells him that like everybody depends on him. It's like, sure, he's just got a bow and arrow, but where would the Avengers be without the grounding voices on their team? And I think Matt Damon would do really good at that part of Hawkeye in particular.
Okay.
But also, if you want to go the route of like Hawkeye as this badass agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., this man was, oh God, why can't
Jason Bourne, wasn't he?
Jason Bourne. Yeah, he was Jason Bourne. Thank you.
And so was Jeremy Renner at one point, right? I think.
There you go.
So, yeah, it would be great, actually.
Okay. You convinced me a little bit. I'm gonna throw this name up. And this is gonna be one of those you're gonna have to hear me out on. Brad Pitt.
Oh,
I was thinking about Brad Pitt for Thor because I've seen those like fan casts of 90s Avengers where Brad Pitt would be Thor.
So I threw up Brad Pitt for Hawkeye, and it's solely based on his performance in Bullet Train.
I was gonna say you're gonna.
I'm just thinking, because I'm just thinking, I'm like, how would I want Hawkeye? Hawkeye is so real because he makes these comments and it's the most straightforward shit, and you're like, yeah, no shit. But it works because, like, again, because one of the biggest things where, like, in Age of Ultron, where he's hyping up Scarlet Witch, he's like, we are on a floating island. I have a bow and arrow.
No, I just want to hear Brad Pitt say that now.
Right. And I just feel like he would be a good blend of where he could be very funny in a very stressful scenario. This man he's good at what he's done, but he's always in way over his head because every scenario they put Hawkeye in for the most part, he's should not be there.
Right. He's facing gods and robots and
Yeah, but I do like
love
though.
it.
I think he's got that, especially because he's older too. He could pull off that like look of just like being that grounded voice of reason for the team, and I think he could still do a very good job doing it. But Matt Damon, you sold me on that one, man. You sold me on Matt Damon.
I do really like Brad Pitt, though. That's a good point about Bullet Train.
yeah, well, we all love bullet trains.
Because I feel like just imagine though, like just give him a bow and you got Hawkeye on Bullet Train, and like there you go.
God.
Because I feel like him interacting with Scarlet Witch would just be fucking hilarious too. Whoever you put in there. Oh man. All right,
You got
next.
anyone else, Jake?
Yeah, you got anyone else?
I had someone and then I just crossed them out because then I was like,
What was the name?
Okay, well, I was thinking Steve Harrington. I was thinking Joe Keery maybe as Hawkeye, and I don't know. I could see maybe just like a little bit a younger Hawkeye, but I know Hawkeye is a character like him with this when his family was brought in, it worked like it helped give Hawkeye more depth, and I think that's what we'd be missing with a younger Hawkeye. So it's like,
I mean, you could get more of a free action, rebellious Hawkeye with a younger one.
yeah, that's what I was thinking
Guy who's
too.
more carefree, had not as much responsibility, just doing his job.
I just really want Joe Keery in the MCU. So.
Okay, but hey, stick to your guns, man. You don't have to conform. If that's who you want, that is who you want, buddy.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of like a good role for him, but
The
anyway,
best part of the MCU is that it's a multiverse, and we can have all of these things.
Like
yes.
prime example, JJ pointed out, he has a universe where it's only Chris Evans. Everywhere. Everywhere. Just Chris Evans.
What actor could better pull that off, though? A
See,
universe.
now I want that
where
as a Saturday night skit, though. Like Saturday Night Live skit, where Chris Evans is just playing those roles.
Yeah.
I need to see this now.
But like then I was thinking also when JJ brought up the 90s Avengers and we're talking about like back then who would have been who, and then I saw Star-Lord and I think Star-Lord was Brendan Fraser, and I was like, Brendan Fraser would have been a great Star-Lord back then.
Oh, back in the day? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He definitely would have been. That definitely would have been him. Oh man. All right, so before we get to our bonus characters, we got one more character, and it's the wizard himself, Doctor Strange. This one was also hard for me because Cumberbatch just again was another like a Tony Stark kind of deal where it's just like he was just made for that role.
Mhm.
So good. And so it was so hard to think about, but I had to dive deep for this recast. I had to dive deep. You guys got any names? Because maybe give out a roster.
This was the hardest one for me to try to think up, and I don't have anybody right now. So
Okay. I got a pick that I'm a little iffy on, but I would love to see in this role. And that is Matt Ryan. He played Constantine in the Arrowverse.
Okay, no, I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
And like Doctor Strange and Constantine are not the same kind of characters.
No, they're not.
Right?
Oh no. Yeah.
I feel like he could do it, and I loved him so much in that role. I really want to see him in the MCU, and I think that's where I'd put him.
I don't hate it. I kind of I get where you're coming from with it. I'm gonna throw this name out. I'm gonna mispronounce it. I'm gonna tell you where it's from. I own Gruford. He's the
Reed
original
Richards, the Fantastic
the
Four.
original, yeah, Reed Richards from the Fantastic Four.
Bet.
I dug deep with that one because I was like, who could give a role? Because I'm like, Doctor Strange has arrogance to him.
Mhm.
And I'm like, who would perform arrogance? And I was like, somebody who played Reed Richards, another character who has some arrogance to him.
Mhm.
And I was just like, Oh my God. And because Reed Richards has been recast again,
Yeah.
you know, I was like, I really want Gruford. And because I loved him as Reed Richards, I thought he was Mr. Fantastic. I kept saying that I wanted him to come back to take the role of it. I would have rather had him there for like the cameo spot in
Besides John Krasinski, yeah.
I would have rather had him over John in the
Yeah.
cameo spot. Save John for something else. Either you cast him or just don't use him, kind of deal.
Right. Yeah.
But I think Groover would be a good Doctor Strange. Um,
Yeah.
but
JJ had to go, so
yeah, yeah,
but
he had to get gone. So, but he wanted to throw out Moon Knight as his bonus character. I didn't see in the chat what he typed up of who it was. I don't know if you could pull it up.
yeah, I'm trying to. I don't know if he said.
Yeah, we'll text him and we'll move on and we'll talk. Jake, in the meantime, tell me your
Yeah.
bonus character. We're just
Well, I had Spider-Man because, like, I
Okay.
think I would love to have this universe where Spider-Man can actually be in there from the beginning, and like we can
Okay.
actually get a Spider-Man. I mean, this one was tough. I mean, there's definitely younger actors that I would love. I mean, part of me was thinking, what if part of me was thinking if you wait for him to age up a bit, but like the Walker Scobell who was in the Adam Project with Ryan Reynolds and he's Percy Jackson.
Oh,
And
him. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
yeah, and he quoted the entire Deadpool script to Ryan Reynolds. And like, I mean, if you get rid of how much he like swearing and whatnot, like he would be a good like younger Deadpool as well. But like I could see him as Spider-Man if you age him up a bit. Because like he can quip, he can, he looks like, he could get in good shape and stuff for it. So I would love to see him. And it was just like also hard to like try to think of a younger actor with like the skills that Tom Holland possesses for Spider-Man, because Tom has all the athleticism that is required for Spider-Man. So that was just the difficult part to try to nail down.
Oh yeah, no, I like it. I feel like the only thing like with this Spider-Man is that it's funny because we have so many versions of Spider-Man now, and it's almost like now that's just become the thing with Spider-Man is we know there's more than one.
Right.
So I feel like that in terms of recasting, it's funny, but it's the easiest one to recast because you kind of just accept it at this point is there are many Spider-Man, like, and that's fine. So I feel like when it comes to recast and reboots, Spider-Man knows it better than anybody else.
Yeah.
But I like that. Now this one, excuse me, sorry.
You're good.
For my bonus character, this one is the hot take because we're eventually gonna have to come to terms with it because it's gonna be our last appearance with him. But Wolverine, he's gonna need to be recast at some point. Hugh Jackman is gonna have his last time in the Wolverine outfit with the claws in Deadpool 3, which I'm very excited to see.
I'm so
And,
excited.
yeah. But this is where I was saving my Tom Hardy pick because Tom Hardy, for the longest time, I've always said if there's ever a rugged role for Tom Hardy, it's Wolverine. Tom Hardy as Wolverine is always something I've wanted. I feel like he would be the best to take on the Wolverine role. It's so tough because Hugh Jackman, again, I think out of every actor we named, the only other person you could say that has a defined role in terms of like they are this character is Robert Downey Jr. But Hugh Jackman as Wolverine is iconic. It is staple. His introduction to that role in the first X-Men movie is just one of the best introductions of a character I've ever seen on
With the
screen.
bar fight, yeah.
Yeah, it just screams Wolverine. He turns around. He's got the look of it. Outside of the fact that he is taller than what Wolverine's supposed to be in the comics, which is always a running gag because he would go because there's that story where he went to Comic-Con and he's saying that they didn't recognize him as Wolverine because they were like, you are way too tall to be Wolverine, and it makes me laugh so much. But he still killed the role though.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so sad that he's eventually going to have to go. But like all things, I would love a future generation to enjoy the character of Wolverine. And depending on when they do it, I feel like Tom Hardy would be, in this time as it stands right now, would be one of the best replacements for Wolverine.
Yeah, I like Tom Hardy a lot. So I could definitely see him play Logan and do well with that character. Trying to think of like other. I know people like fan cast like Taron Egerton and Daniel Radcliffe, but like I don't know. I would have to like see them actually in that role to see if they would fit because I don't know right now.
Yeah, and then JJ looking at his text, all he said he was like Moon Knight would be the thing to recast. He would want to do. Now he didn't give a suggestion of who he want to recast it with, but I don't know, man. I see. I know I pulled Oscar Robbins. Oscar Robbins. I don't know why I keep saying that. I keep thinking basketball. Oscar Isaac.
Baskin Robbins always finds out.
No, not Baskin Robbins. Oscar Robinson's an old Milwaukee Bucks point guard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's anyway. So, but I don't know who. Man, Moon Knight is a recast, man. I don't.
I have one. James McAvoy, because he was in Split. And so he could play someone with multiple personalities because he did it.
That is true. That is true. That is a good pick. Honestly, I think that I like it. Again, just my go-to Swiss Army knife. Tom Hardy could be a good Moon Knight too, I think he would be a great Moon Knight. Tom Hardy would be great in a lot of roles.
Yeah, well, and then we also saw James McAvoy as Charles Xavier in the Fox X-Men as well.
Oh my God, yes. I think that would be a good one too. Oh man, dude, there's so many things we could recast and talk about who we want to see and all that.
Yeah.
Man, Moon Knight, man, I'm curious. Like, I will have to talk to him like off to the side. Sadly, he had to go, but I would curious to see who he had in mind for.
Yeah, I'm wondering because I thought of that. I could see JJ also saying James McAvoy, but I don't know who he had in mind specifically. So
right, as a bonus thought, since we came to the end of the roster and recasting things, they had the Avengers had like a Survivor game. Who do you think would be the best at Survivor?
At playing Survivor, okay.
Survivor, you're the Survivor master, dude.
Well, in terms of strategy, I mean, like, I think T'Challa would be really good at the game. Like, he's going to be respected. He's going to, like, lead things and be super strategic.
Black Widow, I think, would be really good at it.
Strategically, yes.
People very well, knowing they're bullshitting.
Yeah, I could see that as well. I think Iron Man would get on everybody's nerves.
Tony would be the ideal Survivor villain. He would be the iconic Survivor bad guy, because it seems like in every, from what I know, and it seems like from memes like that I occasionally see, because ever since I started being friends with you, and because of the things like I start liking your posts because of algorithms and stuff, I start seeing Survivor memes, and they're like, oh, like here's this season's Survivor villain, and then like you be posting drama about that's happening on the season, and you're very passionate. I'm just like, I wish I knew what he was talking about, but this person seems like a real bitch in this season. Yeah, fuck them. I hope they're gone. Because I see the latest post where it's like, best episode this season. Now that so-and-so's gone, I was just like, oh, okay. We didn't like this person.
Yeah, so I mean, I think Tony Stark would be like the Boston Rob of the season.
Translate a little bit. Boston Rob.
Okay, so if you look him up on YouTube, he's one of the most famous survivors of all time. He's played Survivor the most out of anyone. Like, technically, like 6 times, basically, he's played Survivor. And he's like this guy, this super smart, like mob boss type character that is like, I don't know. It's hard to explain, but if you
like
look
Italian mob, like an Italian mob.
Yes.
Okay, now I might need to watch clips of this because I respect it.
Look up Boston Rob, and there's like,
maybe I just start Survivor just for him, just so I can get to this trend and be like, all right, let's see what
I can recommend seasons for you, Will, to watch. I mean, I know a couple of them. I think I started with you, and then we just never finished it.
I'm assuming if I ever got into it, I don't have to always necessarily start with season 1 because I don't think
no, you can jump around. I can give you seasons that are not like super old because like I get not.
Oh, what, you don't want me to watch Rupert again? The Journey of Rupert?
Well, you can watch Rupert as well. That's his first season is actually like one of the best still to this day. So like you could watch that and not have a problem.
I hope like if any of the other people we play listen to the podcast and they realize it's like, he did know a Survivor person and they appreciate my very, very limited knowledge of this game.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, I think some of them will definitely listen. I mean, I'm wondering if they'll listen through to the MCU
Hey,
stuff.
if they do, mad props. But if they do, just know, if they've gotten this far, I'm coming for them.
Oh boy.
And I will take the crown from Sarah. That is a
Oh boy.
promise. One way or another, I will wear the Survivor crown eventually. And
Yeah, I mean,
Kevin will be nothing but a footnote in the history of Survivor as the villain. They think that they've been villains. Wait until they get a load of me.
oh boy.
Will
I'm
Survivor
interested.
villain arc begins now.
Well, because
No
like,
more
yeah, I mean,
heroes.
because yeah, we also had three, because it was Kevin, JJ, and then Brandon. We had three winners on this season as well playing. So it was like, and somehow all three of them made the merge in the jury, which is
Well,
interesting.
it sounds like to me the next time we play, it's just Will redemption arc, baby. That's the theme. Redemption. That's what it's about.
We literally saw in one of my other seasons, we had Jarvis, who was what, second boot in your guys' original season, and then he came back, was a challenge beast, and like came in second place. Like we've seen it happen before.
Next story, buddy.
So yeah. Well, anything else we want to say before we close out this mega podcast?
No, this was a long time coming, man. Dude, we cracked out a good podcast on this one.
Yeah, I'm excited for everybody listening to see this one. And otherwise, I'm gonna be recording the Harry Potter podcast tomorrow on Half Blood.
Make sure you let Kevin and Sarah and Michael and all them boy people know that I called them out on this. I didn't. I just had a great time playing with them. They were awesome. I will make sure they know that it was a great time meeting them.
Yeah,
No,
I'm sure
no
they
bad
know.
blood, of course.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, we will see you next time, whenever there is a next time for Will, JJ, and I on the Tribe of Nerds.
I will survive.